My golden child sister forged documents to steal my $450,000 house. Today she was sentenced to life after FBI found her murder planning documents with my name on top. Hi everyone. Today's story will blow your mind, but really quick, if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button. Channel's been a bit quiet lately, and your support keeps it all going. Let's jump in. Original post. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but I need to document everything that's happening, partly for my own sanity and partly because I think others need to hear this story. My name is Michael, I'm 28, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought my older sister Jennifer was just occasionally manipulative and financially irresponsible. I was wrong. She's a criminal, and I'm about to make sure she faces every consequence the law allows. Let me give you some background first. Jennifer is 30, has always been the golden child in our family despite a string of failed businesses, bankruptcies, and what I now realize were probably fraudulent schemes. Our parents died in a car accident 4 years ago, leaving us a modest inheritance that was split equally. I used mine to put a down payment on a house in Denver. Nothing fancy, but a solid 3-bedroom property in a decent neighborhood that's been appreciating nicely. Jennifer blew through hers within 18 months on what she called investments, but were really just shopping sprees and trips to Vegas. The house has been my pride and joy. I've spent every weekend for 3 years fixing it up, learning construction skills from YouTube, turning it from a dated 1970s time capsule into something modern and valuable. Current market estimate is around $450,000, up from the $280,000 I paid. It's not just property to me, it's the physical manifestation of our parents' final gift and my own hard work. 3 weeks ago, I received an unusual letter from my mortgage company congratulating me on adding a co-owner to my property. My blood went cold. I hadn't added anyone to anything. I immediately called them, and after 2 hours of being transferred between departments, a helpful representative named Sandra pulled up the documentation. Someone had filed a quitclaim deed adding Jennifer as a 50% owner of my property. The signature on the document was mine, or rather, a very good forgery of mine. But Jennifer made one crucial mistake. She dated the document for a day when I was in Portland for a work conference, with hundreds of time-stamped photos, credit card receipts, and hotel records proving I was 1,200 miles away. I drove straight to my lawyer's office, Thomas Brennan, who I'd used for my parents' estate. The color drained from his face as he reviewed the documents. "Michael," he said, "this isn't just fraud. This is identity theft, forgery, and real estate fraud. These are federal crimes." That evening, I installed security cameras around my property and changed every lock. Then I did something Jennifer didn't expect. I hired a private investigator. What he found over the next week changed everything I thought I knew about my sister. She hadn't just tried to steal my house. The investigator, a former FBI agent named Gary Coleman, discovered Jennifer had been planning this for months. She'd been telling people I was mentally unstable, that I'd verbally promised her half the house, that our parents had wanted her to have it, but I'd manipulated the will. She'd created an entire false narrative, even going so far as to forge fake text message conversations between us that she'd shown to mutual friends. But here's where it gets worse. Gary found evidence that she'd done this before. 3 previous boyfriends had mysteriously had property or vehicles transferred to her name during their relationships. One, named Robert, lost a $30,000 truck. Another, David, had his motorcycle collection signed over. The third, Paul, discovered too late that she'd added herself to his condo deed. He spent 2 years and $50,000 in legal fees getting her removed. I sat in my home office staring at Gary's report, feeling physically sick. My own sister had looked at me and seen nothing but a mark, a target, another victim to con. The betrayal cut deeper than I can adequately express. But then the nausea turned to rage, and the rage crystallized into something cold and purposeful. I called Thomas back. "I want to destroy her," I said. "Legally, financially, completely. I want her to face every single consequence possible." Thomas was quiet for a moment. "Michael, are you sure? This is your sister. Once we start this..." "She stopped being my sister the moment she tried to steal my home," I interrupted. "I want the FBI involved. I want every agency that can charge her to charge her. I want her previous victims contacted. I want her to understand that she picked the wrong person to victimize." The next morning, I walked into the FBI's Denver field office with a banker's box full of evidence. The agent who took my report, Special Agent Patricia Martinez, became increasingly interested as she reviewed the documents. "Mr. Thompson," she said, "this appears to be part of a pattern of interstate fraud. We'll be opening a full investigation." I then filed reports with the Denver Police Department, the Colorado Attorney General's Office, the Federal Trade Commission, and the IRS, because I doubt she reported the assets she stole as income. Each agency seemed particularly interested when I mentioned the others were already investigating. Jennifer, meanwhile, had no idea what was coming. She was still texting me casual messages about getting together for coffee, probably planning to act surprised when I discovered she was now co-owner of my house. The audacity was breathtaking. I hired a second attorney, Elizabeth Harper, who specialized in civil litigation. While the criminal cases proceeded, we prepared a civil suit for damages, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and fraud. Elizabeth was a shark who smelled blood in the water. "Your sister made a critical error," she said. "She created a paper trail. Everything she's done is documented. Yesterday, I had my final preparation meeting with the FBI. They've built what Agent Martinez calls an airtight case. They found 2 more victims in other states, making this a federal matter. They've traced the forged documents to a specific printer at a FedEx office where Jennifer was captured on security cameras. They've documented her research into my travel schedule through my social media posts. Tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., they're arresting her. I've also begun the process of getting a restraining order, having her removed from all family trust documents, and ensuring she can never access any information about me again. I've put fraud alerts on all my accounts, installed a comprehensive security system, and hired a property attorney to ensure my deed is bulletproof going forward. Some of you might think I'm being too harsh. That family should forgive family. But Jennifer looked at the home I'd built with my own hands, the legacy our parents left me, and decided she deserved to steal it. She deliberately, methodically planned to rob me of my biggest asset. She was willing to let me lose everything I'd worked for so she could continue her parasitic lifestyle. Tomorrow, she learns that actions have consequences. Tomorrow, she discovers what happens when you try to steal from someone who has the resources and determination to fight back. Tomorrow, her life as she knows it ends. I'll update you all once the arrest happens. For now, I'm sitting in my house that I earned, that I improved, that I protected, and I feel no guilt about what's coming. She made her choice. Now she gets to live with it. Update 1, 3 days after arrest. The arrest happened exactly as scheduled. The FBI doesn't mess around. At 6:03 a.m., they breached Jennifer's apartment door with a warrant. I know the precise time because one of her neighbors, Kevin, filmed it and it's been making the rounds on local social media. 7 agents in FBI windbreakers carrying boxes of evidence out of her apartment while she was led away in handcuffs, still in her pajamas. The arraignment was yesterday. I sat in the back of the courtroom and watched as the federal prosecutor, James Sullivan, laid out the charges: wire fraud, mail fraud, identity theft, forgery across state lines, and conspiracy to commit real estate fraud. The judge set bail at $500,000. Jennifer's court-appointed attorney actually laughed when he heard the amount. But here's where things got interesting. Remember those previous victims I mentioned? Robert, David, and Paul all showed up. They'd been contacted by the FBI and had flown in to provide testimony. Turns out, Jennifer's pattern was even worse than we knew. There were 12 victims total across 6 states over 8 years. The combined total of her thefts exceeded $1.3 million. Paul pulled me aside after the hearing. "You have no idea what you've done for all of us," he said, his voice shaking. "I've been trying to get someone to take this seriously for 3 years. She destroyed my credit, my reputation, my faith in people. Thank you for being the one who finally stopped her." The FBI has frozen all of Jennifer's assets. Every bank account, her car, which, surprise, was leased under a fake business name, even her jewelry collection. Agent Martinez informed me they found 3 storage units filled with luxury goods, all purchased with stolen funds. The asset forfeiture proceedings alone will take months to sort out. My extended family has been calling non-stop. My Aunt Linda, my mother's sister, left me a voicemail saying I was cruel and destroying the family. I called her back and calmly explained that Jennifer had committed over $1 million in fraud. The line went quiet. $1 million, she whispered. "That's correct," I replied. "And she was coming for you next. We found your financial information in her apartment." That ended the conversation rather quickly. The civil suit is proceeding parallel to the criminal case. Elizabeth has been deposing Jennifer's associates, and what we've found is a web of enablers and co-conspirators. Her best friend, Melissa, knowingly helped her forge documents. Her boyfriend, Christopher, provided fake employment verification letters. They're all being added as defendants. Jennifer tried to call me from jail using another inmate's phone privileges. I recognized her voice immediately and hung up. That call was a violation of the restraining order, which added another charge to her growing list. Her attorney, a public defender named Aaron Walsh, has reached out asking if I'd consider dropping the charges in exchange for Jennifer relinquishing any claim to the house. I had Thomas respond with 2 words, "Absolutely not." I've been working with a trauma therapist, Dr. Nancy Williams. She's helped me understand that what I'm feeling, the mix of rage, betrayal, and strange satisfaction, is completely normal. Your sister engaged in what we call predatory behavior, she explained. She specifically targeted people who trusted her. Your response isn't revenge, it's justice. The security upgrades to my house are complete. Motion-activated cameras with cloud storage, reinforced doors with multiple deadbolts, window sensors, and a panic room. Okay, it's just a reinforced closet, but still. I've also had the deed transferred to an LLC for an extra layer of protection, and purchased title insurance that specifically covers fraud. Local news picked up the story. Denver woman faces federal charges in $1 million fraud scheme, was the headline on Channel 9. They didn't name me, but Jennifer's mugshot was featured prominently. She looked haggard, defeated, nothing like the confident con artist who'd walked into that FedEx office to forge my signature. I've also discovered something interesting. Jennifer had taken out 3 credit cards in my name over the past year, running up $45,000 in debt. I never knew because she had the statements sent to a P.O. box. That's wire fraud charges number 4, 5, and 6. Each carries up to 20 years in federal prison. My work has been incredibly supportive. My boss, Richard, gave me paid leave to handle the legal proceedings and told me, family betrayal is the worst kind. Take all the time you need. Several co-workers have reached out with their own horror stories of family members who turned out to be criminals. It's more common than you'd think, apparently. The federal prosecutor called yesterday with an update. They're adding RICO charges, Racketeer-Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. Apparently, Jennifer's pattern of fraud across multiple states with multiple accomplices qualifies as organized crime. If convicted on all charges, she's facing 40 to 60 years in federal prison. Tomorrow, I'm meeting with the other victims to discuss a joint civil action. Together, we're seeking $5 million in damages. Jennifer will never be able to pay it, of course, but the judgment will follow her for the rest of her life, ensuring she can never own property, have a bank account, or live a normal financial life again. Some people have asked if I feel guilty. The answer is no. Jennifer made calculated decisions to destroy people's lives for her own gain. She was a predator who happened to share my DNA. The only thing I feel guilty about is not seeing it sooner, not protecting her previous victims by stopping her earlier. I'll update again after the preliminary hearing next month. Update 2. 2 months later. The preliminary hearing was a massacre. Jennifer's attorney tried to argue for dismissal based on family dispute grounds. The judge, Harold Mitchell, actually laughed. "Counselor," he said, "I have 1,400 pages of evidence in front of me documenting systematic fraud across 6 states. This isn't a family dispute, it's a federal crime spree." Jennifer tried to make eye contact with me throughout the hearing. I kept my eyes on my phone, reviewing property listings for security doors. I've decided to upgrade everything to commercial grade after a security consultant reviewed my current setup. It's overkill, but overkill gives me peace of mind. The other victims and I have formed an unofficial support group. We meet every Wednesday at a coffee shop downtown. David brought his new fiancée, Ashley, to the last meeting. She thanked each of us for ensuring Jennifer faced justice. "David couldn't move forward until this was resolved," she said, tears in her eyes. "You gave us our future back." But here's the biggest development. Jennifer flipped on her accomplices. Facing 60 years, she decided to testify against Melissa and Christopher in exchange for a reduced sentence. The prosecutor offered 15 years instead of 60. I was asked if I objected. I said no, 15 years is still substantial, and it ensures the entire network gets dismantled. Melissa was arrested at her job at a bank. Yes, a bank. She'd been using her position to gather financial information on potential targets for Jennifer. The FBI found a list of 30 prospective victims on her work computer. Christopher was picked up at the airport trying to flee to Mexico. He had $50,000 in cash hidden in his luggage. The asset forfeiture auction happened last week. Jennifer's belongings raised $380,000, which will be distributed among the victims. I'm receiving $92,000 as the largest single victim. I'm donating half to a charity that helps fraud victims and using the rest to upgrade my home security to military contractor levels. My Aunt Linda called again, this time to apologize. She'd received a letter from someone claiming to be a legal representative, asking for her financial information to help Jennifer's case. It was another scam, probably one of Jennifer's fellow inmates. The letter was traced back to the federal detention center. Add mail fraud charge number 7. I've been asked to testify at the sentencing hearing. The prosecutor wants the judge to understand the personal impact beyond the financial losses. I've been working on my victim impact statement for weeks. How do you summarize the betrayal of having your own sister try to steal your home? The house has become my fortress. I work from home now. My company made it permanent after seeing how this affected me. Every delivery is recorded, every visitor documented. My neighbors think I'm paranoid. They didn't have their sister try to steal their life. Jennifer's former boyfriend Christopher made a plea deal and revealed something disturbing. They had planned to force me out of the house once Jennifer was on the deed. The plan was to claim I was violent, get a restraining order against me, and have me legally barred from my own property. They'd done it before to someone in Arizona. That person, Brian, is now part of our victims group. The FBI has referred the case to the IRS. Jennifer never reported any of her stolen assets as income. That's roughly $400,000 in tax evasion over 8 years. The IRS doesn't play games. They're adding their own charges and penalties that will follow her even after prison. I've started dating someone, Catherine, who I met at a security trade show. Yes, I attend those now. She's a former military police officer who runs a personal security firm. When I told her my story on our third date, she didn't flinch. Family can be the most dangerous threat, she said, because we never see it coming. She's helped me design what she calls layered security for my property. The criminal trial is set for next month. The prosecutor is confident. He has Jennifer's recorded confession, testimony from accomplices, documentary evidence, and 12 victims ready to testify. Jennifer's attorney has hinted at an insanity defense, claiming she has a personality disorder. The prosecution psychiatrist evaluated her and found her completely sane, just greedy. My therapist, Dr. Williams, has helped me understand something important. I'm not responsible for Jennifer's choices, but I am responsible for protecting myself and others from her. That's what justice is, not revenge, but protection of society from predators. The other revelation came from going through old family photos for the prosecution. In every picture from our childhood, Jennifer is taking something from me, a toy, food, attention. Our parents always made excuses, she's just assertive, or she knows what she wants. They enabled a monster without realizing it. I've legally changed all my personal information, new social security number. Did you know you can do that in cases of severe identity theft? New driver's license number, new everything. Jennifer will never be able to access anything about me again. It cost $10,000 in legal fees, but it's worth it for the peace of mind. The next update will be after the trial. For now, I'm focusing on healing, securing my future, and helping the other victims find their own justice. Final update, 4 months later. The trial lasted 2 weeks. Jennifer took the stand in her own defense, against her attorney's advice. It was a disaster. She claimed I had promised her the house, that our parents wanted her to have it, that she was entitled to compensation for being the older sibling. The prosecutor, James Sullivan, systematically destroyed every claim with documents, recordings, and witness testimony. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty on all 23 federal counts. The sentencing hearing was yesterday. I read my victim impact statement, my voice steady despite my hands shaking. I talked about trust, about family, about the home that represented our parents' last gift to us. Jennifer tried to interrupt twice. The judge threatened to have her gagged. The other victims spoke too. Robert talked about losing his business because he couldn't deliver goods without his truck. David described years of therapy after Jennifer's betrayal. Paul showed pictures of the condo he lost, where his disabled mother had lived with him. By the end, several jury members were crying. Jennifer's statement was unrepentant. She claimed she was the real victim, that society had failed her, that we were all conspiring against her. It was the narcissism Dr. Williams had warned me about, the complete inability to accept responsibility. Judge Mitchell's sentence was harsh but fair, 18 years in federal prison, no possibility of parole. Restitution of $1.3 million to be paid to victims. Lifetime supervised probation upon release. She can never work in finance, real estate, or any fiduciary capacity. She cannot contact any victim, directly or indirectly, for life. When the sentence was read, Jennifer collapsed. As court officers helped her up, she screamed at me, "You destroyed my life." The judge responded before I could, "No, Ms. Thompson, you destroyed your own life. Your brother simply held you accountable." Melissa received 8 years for her role as accomplice. Christopher got 10 years plus deportation. Turns out he was here on an expired visa. The network is completely dismantled. My house is now a fortress that would make Fort Knox jealous. Catherine helped me install biometric locks on all entrances, infrared cameras with AI-powered threat detection, a safe room with independent communication systems, a legal-grade documentation storage for all property records, a $2 million identity theft insurance policy. The property deed is now held in an irrevocable trust with multiple authentication requirements for any changes. It would take a court order and 3 separate law firms to modify ownership. I've also prepaid property taxes for the next 5 years to prevent any technical defaults Jennifer might have exploited. The victims group has evolved into an official nonprofit, the Phoenix Foundation for Fraud Victims Rising from the Ashes. We provide resources, legal referrals, and emotional support to people whose families have financially betrayed them. We've helped 43 people in just 2 months. Catherine and I moved in together last month. She brought her 2 German shepherds, Zeus and Athena, trained protection dogs. Between them and the security system, I finally sleep through the night. She's teaching me Krav Maga, just in case, she says with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. She understands that some wounds require constant vigilance. My Aunt Linda has become an unexpected ally. She's testified to other family members about Jennifer's attempts to scam her, ending the "poor Jennifer" narrative. The family has largely accepted that Jennifer is exactly where she belongs. I received a letter from Jennifer last week, forwarded through her attorney to comply with a no-contact order. It was a single line, "I'll never forgive you." I framed it and hung it in my home office as a reminder. Forgiveness from a predator is neither needed nor wanted. The financial recovery has been better than expected. The insurance claim paid out $200,000 for the identity theft damages. The civil suit resulted in a $3 million judgment against Jennifer, Melissa, and Christopher. While I'll likely never see most of it, it ensures they can never accumulate wealth again. Every dollar they earn above subsistence will come to the victims. The house's value has increased to $510,000, partly due to the security improvements but mostly due to the neighborhood development. I've created a scholarship in my parents' name at their alma mater, something positive from all this darkness. Dr. Williams says I'm doing remarkably well. The hypervigilance is normal and will fade with time. The trust issues may never fully resolve, but that's not necessarily bad. Some lessons, she says, are worth keeping. Looking back, the signs were always there. Jennifer's entitlement, her manipulation, her casual relationship with the truth. But we explain away so much when it's family. We make excuses, ignore red flags, enable behaviors that we'd never tolerate from strangers. No more. My home is secure. My future is protected. Jennifer is facing decades in a federal prison. The other victims have justice and closure. The accomplices are behind bars. The system worked because I made it work, because I refused to be a victim, because I fought back with every legal tool available. To those reading this who might be dealing with similar situations, document everything. Trust your instincts. Don't let family be an excuse for criminal behavior. And remember, someone who would steal from you, who would destroy your life for their gain, isn't family. They're a predator who happens to share your DNA. My name is Michael. I'm 29 now. I own my home free and clear. I'm building a life with someone who understands that security isn't paranoia when you've been hunted. And I have absolutely no regrets about destroying my sister's life to protect my own. She made her choice. I made mine. Justice won. Epilogue. 6 months later. I'm adding this final note because something remarkable happened that provides real closure to this story. The FBI contacted me last week. They've uncovered evidence that Jennifer had been planning something far worse than property theft. In her storage unit, they found detailed plans to take out life insurance policies on me and several other victims. The plans included methods to make deaths appear accidental. She'd researched everything from brake line cutting to untraceable poisons. She'd even contacted a dark website about hiring someone, though thankfully never followed through. This discovery has added attempted murder conspiracy charges, moving her potential sentence from 18 years to life without parole. The prosecutor called it one of the most chilling escalation patterns he'd seen in 20 years. When I learned this, I sat in my secured home, Catherine beside me, our dogs alert at our feet, and realized something profound. By stopping her when I did, I likely saved my own life and possibly others. This wasn't just about property or money. Jennifer was a predator evolving towards something deadlier. The other victims were notified. We met last week, all 12 of us, and the mood was somber but grateful. We hadn't just stopped a thief, we'd stopped a potential killer. My home isn't just secure now, it's a symbol of survival. Every camera, every lock, every legal protection represents a boundary Jennifer can never cross again. Catherine and I are getting married next month, A small ceremony with just close friends and the family members who stood by me. The Phoenix Foundation has helped 127 fraud victims and counting. We've partnered with the FBI to create an early warning system for family fraud patterns. 3 potential Jennifer-style predators have already been caught because of our work. I still wake up sometimes at 3 a.m., checking the security monitors. Catherine doesn't judge, she checks them with me. Vigilance, she says, is the price of safety. We're planning to buy the house next door and expand our sanctuary. The neighbors who once thought I was paranoid now ask for security advice. Jennifer will die in prison. This isn't hyperbole or wishful thinking, it's legal fact. The attempted murder conspiracy charges ensure she'll never walk free again. She traded my house for a 6x8 cell, my trust for lifetime incarceration, my love for perpetual consequences. Some might say I won. I don't see it that way. There are no winners when family becomes predator and prey. There are only survivors. I survived. The other victims survived. And because we stood together, fought together, and refused to be silent, future victims will survive too. My name is Michael. I'm 29 years old. I own my home. I'm getting married. I help fraud victims find justice. And I sleep soundly knowing that the sister who tried to destroy me is now the architect of her own permanent cage. That's not revenge. That's justice. And it's enough.